Hello and welcome. My name is Dominik Wee. I'm the Corporate Vice President of Manufacturing and Mobility here at Microsoft. I'm excited to introduce my new video series, Relentless Renewal. The pace of change around us is continuously accelerating. This is why we want to talk about in this series how we master this ongoing change. In each episode, I'll be joined by a top leader to explore creative angles from a human, business, and technology perspective. Magnus Östberg is one of these leaders. He's Chief Software Officer at Mercedes-Benz AG. I truly admire Magnus for the innovation he drives at Mercedes since having joined the company about 2 years ago. Hence, I'm thrilled to have Magnus here with me today for our opening episode. Not only is Mercedes-Benz transforming the in-car experience for drivers, but is also using AI to transform all areas of the automotive value chain, all the way from engineering to product design, to production, to driving new customer experiences. So here we go. Magnus, welcome. We are so glad to have you here with us today. I actually remember that the first time we met was, I think, more or less exactly 2 years ago at the previous IAA, when you just started your job. Clearly, a lot has happened since. Would you mind sharing a bit about your background with us and what brought you to Mercedes-Benz in the first place?
Of course, and thank you for having me and your opening podcast here. As you said, 2 years have passed now here at Mercedes-Benz. Prior to that, I spent about 20 plus years in the industry on the supplier ranks, working for basically every OEM on the planet, delivering software and hardware and in serious production. So my job here at Mercedes-Benz and what drove me here is to make MBUS a reality. This vision that Ola presented to me and said that we are going to transform the company, we're going to make it fully electric, and we're going to make it a software-driven company. And that transformation to change a 130-year-old company into a software-driven digital company is really a challenge that you're not going to say no to if that kind of challenge is in your blood and you lived and breathed software in the automotive industry for as long as I have. So yeah, that's what brought me to Mercedes.
I can totally see that, and I think we see the results of your amazing work. Before I dive into that, I wanted to reflect on a recent discovery I had. I was visiting Microsoft's Executive Briefing Center in Redmond, and I noticed that there's actually a quite significant piece of the Berlin Wall in that briefing center. And there's a plaque by it that says that this was gifted by Jürgen Schrempp, who used to be the CEO of Daimler, to Microsoft in 1996, quite a while ago. And I thought, to me, it was just such an amazing, symbol of the deep and long partnership of our two new companies, right? And now we're talking about the innovation that's happening today. Would you mind just sharing a little bit, what are your reflections, kind of also me being new to this party, how we work between our two companies?
Absolutely. Maybe first I should frame a little bit what the MBUS is, and then how Mercedes and Microsoft are then collaborating. So we refer to MBUS as a ship-to-cloud architecture. So it's standardization, service-oriented architecture that enables Mercedes-Benz to serve our customers with a fast deployment of new services, fast deployment of technologies to our customers using this standardized architecture approach. Of course, we're using techniques like over-the-air updates so that we can launch third-party apps and tie into new services. And in this constellation, one of the very fundamental important pieces is, of course, our cloud. And we refer to our cloud as the MIC, Mercedes Intelligent Cloud. And here is where our partnership started. Mercedes-Benz and Mercedes started more than 4 years ago on this journey to build the backend cloud. It has evolved over the time, but this is where it all started, that when we wanted to create our architecture for our cloud, we based it on Microsoft Azure, and it is now an extensive service-oriented platform that gives us the possibility to serve the globe. So, of course, over the years, we have extended this to a multi-cloud platform so that we can serve all parts of the world. But the essence is that we started it with this close cooperation between Microsoft and ourselves, and of course now lately in the news has been, of course, how we are now able to tie in new APIs, new services from Microsoft. ChatGPT, of course, was the biggest news of this year in our partnership. But this is an evolution of a long-term relationship on how we leverage the cloud to augment services like, for example, voice assistant.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense, and like I can see how, I guess, the things we've been building over time, provided the groundwork for like these latest news. So if we move there a little bit, indeed, I think the thought leadership and the innovation you've been doing on the generative AI front is really, really impressive. And you're already using, as you mentioned, Azure OpenAI Service in the in-car customer experience. Can you describe a little bit, like, what's your broader vision around this? Like, also like how you bring what AI means for the driver experience, and also how you're managing the process, how you're looking at what is success for Mercedes in this.
Yes, of course. So of course, we are using generative AI in multiple aspects of our product design and our customer service. And we divide our applications or areas where we use generative AI in three areas. First and foremost, the customer-facing functions. ChatGPT being one example of this, where the customer can have a more fluid dialogue with us. But secondly, we use what we call embedded AI, and that's more related to the vehicle, but not directly customer-facing functions. So this is how we then advancing our way of working. And thirdly, it comes to our processes. So how we are then injecting generative AI into our daily work for research and development to enhance the speed. So these are the three areas that we are using it through the value chain.
Okay, that makes sense. And it's great to see like how comprehensively you're thinking about it. If we start on the first piece, and I think that's the one that's, visible in the market, at least for the ones fortunate enough to, own one of your vehicles in the US. Talk a bit about, like, I think it's about 2 months ago that you started the pilot.
Hey, Mercedes.
How can I help?
I feel like exploring after the beach. What museums would you recommend around the area?
If you're looking for museums in the Carlsbad area, there are several options to choose from. One option is the Museum of Making Music, which is dedicated to showcasing the history of musical instruments and the music products industry. Another option is the Gemological Institute of America Museum, which displays a collection of gems, minerals, and jewelry. Finally, the California Surf Museum in nearby Oceanside is a great option if you're interested in surfing culture and history. I hope that helps.
What are you learning so far? What do you find? What maybe surprised you? And like, where do we go from here?
Well, it's interesting to follow the development, and it's so exciting now that we have this connection with our end customers. We have the possibility, when they give us the permission to leverage the data that are coming. But with the ChatGPT beta program, we gave now 900,000 of our customers, you being one of them, in the US, the possibility to then sign up and be part of this program. And of course, we have seen that the customers are overwhelmingly concentrating on what we are offering, which is navigation and travel-related knowledge and follow-up questions. This is clearly the passion, the interest, and this is what you talk to your Mercedes about. But we also see that they're doing this now twice as much. So we have doubling our intensity of our dialogue since we added generative AI to the conversation, because it's just so much richer and we can have a more fluent dialogue. So this being one of the biggest takeaways to see, can this new technology give us a higher customer interaction? Are they then interested in things outside of the vehicle or more around the vehicle? And it's really we as Mercedes-Benz traveling through space, traveling through time, what can they say? What can they do? What can they find out? That's been the clear feedback so far. We're of course to launch different pilots in different parts of the world. It might be different learnings. So that's the journey we're on to really find out, right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it coming to our part of the world. It is really amazing. On the two other pieces, and I have to say what you said really resonated with me as well. When I step back with all the craze with generative AI, and I think about like what is the most disruptive impact for the auto industry, I believe the most powerful thing is the impact it can have on the R&D process. And you've been at the forefront of also using GitHub Copilot in the coding area. And when we talk about that, like it gets all of our customers excited, right? And I think generally making a car, like developing cars, is a difficult task. It takes several years, and it's not getting easier, right? Because of all the software complexity. So my sense is that this is for the first time we actually maybe have an opportunity to shorten, the development cycle and maybe take some of that complexity out. What have been your first experience? I guess obviously mainly on the software side. If you can talk about that, GitHub Copilot, but maybe also like broader to the extent you can speak for me. Like how are you thinking about the impact of generative AI and like how a car is being created in the future?
Well, what we have seen is in the development workflow, we have, of course, a large number of engineers around the world who are collaborating, who are discussing with each other, and where we are bringing customer demands together with our assets in the vehicle. And one of the fundamental exciting things that I see is that we are using generative AI to really find patterns, to find synergies, and suggest solutions that we already have. And this is where Copilot is a very exciting tool because it can take information from various parts of collaboration tools that we use and suggest either code or suggest a link, so suggest a context to what you're trying to create for the customer, and that then goes beyond just code generation. Code generation is a fantastic thing, but we also have compliance to deal with, to look at how we are living up to the legal and regulatory framework, identifying if there are any open source dependencies that we should adhere to, etc., etc. So that saves enormous amount of time, and this is where I'm so excited because all of that work is today to a large extent either manual. We're of course using various screens to do that, but to automate that, make it at really a co-pilot, someone who can help you pull this together, saves time, which is basically what we want. We want to spend less time on these things and more time on developing customer features.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. What's the feedback you're getting from your developers? Like, how do they feel about these changes?
Well, it's mixed. You have, of course, like any human being, and we see this in society as well. Some are embracing it very quickly and saying, "Hey, this is the best thing since sliced bread." But we're also having concerns, and that is why we're doing a lot of dialogue internally. We're doing a lot of trainings, and we've set up a set of principles and a set of sandbox rules and tools so that we can practice, we can basically reinforce the behavior that we want and take out or basically eliminate manual activities that is not value add.
Yeah, okay, that's very understandable. So I was following the communication both from your personal LinkedIn as well from Mercedes around how you've been discussing the new features with ChatGPT in the car. And what I noticed is that you put a lot of emphasis also on privacy and responsible AI, similar as we do at Microsoft. That resonates a lot with me. Can you talk about that a bit more? Like, what are the principles you apply and like how do you put it into action?
Yes, I mentioned before reinforced learning in ourselves in our employee base, that we want, of course, see reinforce the behavior, the positive behavior that we want our engineers to do. The same principle in general applies also to AI. We are using what we called a self-learning method called deep reinforced learning when it comes to AI, so that we are sure that we're getting the behavior that we want, and that is the ultimate principle. Then we have then developed what we call workflows, which are both automatic and semi-automatic, that reinforces this, so that we can implement an artificial neural networks in our series ECUs. That is not in place today, but this is the direction we're going. The principles then are really 4 of them, very straightforward, simple. Number one, responsibility, responsible use, both of AI and the techniques. It needs to be explainable, so explainability. We need to adhere to the privacy principles that we already have before AI came into the principle. Security and reliability, that is the rock bed of Mercedes-Benz. You have to be able to trust the star. The star brand is there, and so that is the bottom foundation that when it comes to AI, when it comes to autonomous driving, when it comes to how we deal with privacy and data, it's the number one basic principle.
Yeah, okay, I can see that, and I think it's great how you're managing to kind of bring the newest technology and be in line with the values of your brand, and that's certainly something we aspire to as well at Microsoft. So if we zoom out a bit, I mean, clearly AI is a topic that, moves everybody right now. And I think there's a lot, many conversations going, far beyond. You are like probably one of the people that is like farthest on the cutting edge on of these things happening. Like, if you can also step back from like these conversations we've been having now, like what are your reflections when you see, like, when you read the articles, let's say, in the big newspapers? Like, what is your thinking? Like, what's going to happen with the world with
AI? Well, that's a $1 million question, or the world hunger question, right? But what I do argue internally in our company is that we need to try. We need to use the tools and have a sandbox approach, so that we can learn how to leverage the power of AI, the power of the new tools, and be able to create a positive impact on the product that we are creating and we are making to our customers and in society. I use again the example that we had with ChatGPT. We saw that the customers enjoyed and liked the fluency and the dialogue that you can have, but we also realized that we need to combine that with traditional techniques. We need to combine that with natural language models for rapid response on controlling the vehicles. We also saw that we need to combine that with for example, accuracy when it comes to our point of interest, when it comes to the verification of addresses and names, so that the experience then, once you have had your dialogue, you actually end up in a location which is existing and is correct. Or if you want to control something in the vehicle, that this is in the vehicle that actually have that feature, and then you can control that. So this kind of context and leveraging the technology and see how you need to augment that. This type of experiment, this type of work, is where I would encourage all industries to do, so that we can have the positive effect that we want to, both in our products and in society.
I love that, and I mean, thank you for taking a very kind of 10,000 mile question, and making it very real. That resonates a lot. So thanks so much, Magnus. I think it's a huge privilege for all of us, to hear from you, to learn from you, like from your journey in this space, right? The innovation you've been driving. It's been a great pleasure having you here. Thanks so much, and looking forward to all the other innovation we'll be driving together. Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic, for having me. Great talk to you here.